sorry for the poor quality in this beginning. I'm just doing a quick little intro here, but we have our final mock draft. I know I didn't do a ton on this channel, but just had a lot of stuff going on, but I still did a ton of research and everything with just the players and this, and it'll help me with grades. So stay back, and at least at the end of the draft, in terms of the actual draft, go ahead and check out my draft grades that'll come out. But this is going to be, it's the end one. It's going to be more of a predictive one. I can't do it too late, so this is as late as it'll get for me personally, but some stuff is coming out, and some stuff will come out after this that maybe debunk some of these picks, but I think I'm getting pretty on top of a lot of stuff that might actually come out to begin with, so we'll have all the predictive stuff noise, so we'll see if that actually happens. But to preface, again, I'm going based off what's going on, so if you don't like the pick or anything, I'm going based on what seems the rumors like might be, so that's kind of why. And I'll try, and I'm not going to really spend too much time on specific guys. It's just going to be kind of just the picks in terms of like maybe a guy I might go in on of where he's going to go, but maybe not just what he is as a player, because I can do that later on, and I've also done that in past videos. I'll also try to explain all of the possible like realistic picks that might be the case for a team if I go something that's a little bit different. But I'm going to be a little different here. I think you've seen a lot of normal mocks with all this other normal stuff. I think it's going to be a little different here. I think some stuff's changing very quickly at the end. Some stuff we've picked a ton. I don't really want to do that right now. And I think you should get ready for some chaos in this draft, because I think it really is going to be potentially one of the most chaotic first rounds, because there's not a big difference between the later third or so and then the second, or I'd say mid-first, and that normally isn't the case. So we'll see if that happens there in this draft. But go ahead, enjoy the video, enjoy the mock, and we'll see what happens, and I'll see you guys after for grades when the first round concludes. All right, like I said, I want to go a little bit different here, because I think we know I could easily come on here and just predict the ones that have been the same for a while, or the ones that the general consensus just thinks is going to happen. But I don't know. Something's telling me that, I know people say it every year. I think this year in particular, without the lack of like pure, like for sure they have them ranked here or there prospects, like the real blue chip guys, like the difference between the mid first round and maybe the start of the third, if not late second, is not very far. And it's very rare that that's the case. So I think we could just see chaos with how different teams have guys on their boards. But first few picks I think are going to be pretty normal. The Tennessee Titans here, Cam Ward seems to be the pick. They are convinced that this is probably going to be what it is. I will have first round grades that I will do the night of, but I also think it's good to do full grades, and maybe some of the first round grades get fixed, because you could have a big need here at this pick, and maybe you pick differently, but you make up for it in the second round or third round. Let's say, i.e., the Lions 2 years ago, Gibbs and the linebacker at Iowa, whose name I'm forgetting, both of them in the first round, and then second round getting Brian Branch and Sam Laporta. I loved the second round way better than the first round. The two first round guys turned out to be much better than I thought. I still knew they were going to be good, but not that good. But the second round I loved, so that brought their grade and helped out the draft in general much higher. So, right now I think Cam Ward, if he was in other drafts, like if he was in last year's draft, he would probably be around the Michael Penix, Bo Nix kind of range, whether you have one above, one below, both above, both below. He's somewhere around there. First overall pick standards, not like, not the highest grade at all, definitely one of the worst, but in terms of just the pick itself and the guy on the team, like this is not bad. Good start for them. Browns at 2 seems to be Travis Hunter. Obviously amazing. I'm very interested to see kind of what he does. I still think he would probably be more impactful as a heavy receiver and then spot starter on third down and cornerback, whether he's a Giant or Brown. It seems like he's adamant about wanting to play both sides. I'm really intrigued to see how his career plays out. I'm really interested. I hope he doesn't do stuff to kind of mess it up or get hurt a lot. That wouldn't be something that good, but it could be potentially in the realm of possibility. But still, Browns, hey, get another probable future Hall of Famer like you did with Myles Garrett here with Travis Hunter. And then 3 with the Giants. It seems like people say the draft starts at 3 because of the Shedeur Sanders stuff. I don't think they're taking him at 3 if they are. If he's a Giant, it's because he's the second pick that they had in terms of either the second first-round pick or if he falls completely out of the first round, which I don't think is going to happen. But he's probably the second first-round pick if he's a Giant. I don't think he's going to go here at 3, and the only other logical guy would be Abdul Carter, so we're going to go him here. The Giants have been fielding offers for this third overall pick. They probably are just going to stay and get Carter, in my opinion, and with this, they're probably going to trade or maybe have something with Kayvon Thibodeau, who's their other edge rusher they took in the first round a few years ago, who's had a lot of potential but has kind of disappointed for his top 10 draft pick that they made a few years ago. But Carter does have a potential issues with an injury going on right now. Might need surgery, might not. I still think the talent is worth it for sure. So I would go this here over Shedeur Sanders, especially when they already have maybe 2 guys on the roster. Are they better than Sanders right now? Maybe, maybe not. It's not definitive, though. It really isn't. And there is a possibility you could trade back up. That is there because the demand might not be as high as people think for quarterback, or at least the quarterbacks specific in this draft. Number 4, with the Patriots, I think this is probably where the draft really starts. But even then, I think that could not be the case either because reports are it seems like, hey, there's a lot of stuff they could do. Could they go Genty? Maybe. Maybe they could be the shocking team. Say, screw it, we're just going to go Ashton Genty here at 4 and pick him. Could it be McMillan? Maybe. They just go ahead and they need a running back, a receiver. They just get him. But it seems more likely that it's going to be Will Campbell in that, even if he's not worth the 4th overall pick, it's still the smart decision. It is drafting based on need, which you don't always want to do at the top. But in this class, I don't know. With their current situation, the O-line is so bad. I don't trust it at all. It's so bad. Morgan Moses is the only reliable guard there or a tackle there, and the other offensive linemen are just I just think their situation is so specific that I think Will Campbell would be my pick anyways. If you want to trade down, you can. But I mean, someone would have to be trading up for someone, and, who that would be, Genty or McMillan? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if they would really trade up for a running back, and I don't even know if really anyone would trade up for McMillan. Maybe if he falls, but I mean the 4th overall pick. That's what you're trying to trade up to. So I think we'll just go Will Campbell here, and then I think the draft, and at least in my mind, could start at 5 because it seems like it was reported that we need to prepare for maybe some potential chaos here with Jacksonville. I think it is. I mean, Mason Graham has been the pick. Mason Graham's been the pick for a while. It seems like it might be offense, though. It seems like they might go offense here instead, and there's been different reports. I think the one you think of mainly, obviously, Ashton Genty here, with, being the best player on the board. I think let's do a world where they go McMillan. I think it's McMillan or Genty, and I think they look at it, and, I mean, they could go running back, but to be honest, I know ETN's not amazing, but he's, fine. And then Tank Bigsby was good last year. He was actually good. So I just don't think it'd be a great use of the pick to go Genty here, even though he's so good. I understand. I think allocating just the best allocation of your resources, I think you could go running back later on if you'd really like, because there are so many good running backs deep, and if you want to continue to upgrade that room if you don't really love ETN there, or maybe you're only considering Genty because of how good he is, then sure. But realistically, McMillan, if you want to go offense and get the guy, I mean, first of all, just the value there are stark differences with his stock. There are guys that have him not even as a first-round pick or a late first-round pick. There are some guys that have him, like PFF does, and other guys as a top 4 or 3 or 5 player in the class. And they think his value's there. So his difference is very stark. I'm probably somewhere in the middle, but I'm probably closer to him being at least top 10 compared to top 40. I think Todd McShay has him as the 50th ranked player. Crazy. So stark differences here. There's a lot of experienced and well-respected people that have him very high and very low. little chaotic, but I don't know. It wouldn't be the craziest, like, oh my god, this is an A plus, but I don't think it'd be as bad as maybe some other people would think. It's just your opinion. It just is, and a world where they take McMillan, I think would be, pretty chaotic start, and one that has not been mocked, as of recent. But I mean, you got Brian Thomas Jr., who's I think is going to be a stud. Other than that, the other reliable guys, like there's not many reliable guys. They signed De'Ami Brown, but I mean, De'Ami Brown is fine, and even then, like, was he just solid because of the situation he was in Washington? Maybe. Gabe Davis, again, I'm not trusting Gabe Davis, so I think that they lost Evan Ingram, they lost Christian Kirk after he's been hurt, so receiver makes sense. It does, and I think this one value-wise just makes more sense. If it's Genty though, would still be really good, and that would obviously change the board just a little bit. If Genty goes to 5, I think McMillan probably goes to 12. That's probably where he goes. And if it is McMillan here, obviously we have the Raiders here at 6, and you would think they'd be Genty, which pretty much, would be the easy pick. But I don't know. The defensive guys have been getting a ton, and I mean a ton of love here, and Genty's been the pick that's been normal forever. Stuff changes at the last second. Jalen Walker's been skyrocketing. I think I'm actually going to go pick him for the Raiders here. He has been flying up the boards. I've seen him projected at 5 sometimes, but I think with the new coach and Liam Cohen, he's there to help with Trevor Lawrence because they really feel like they have something there. I agree. I think they do as well, and they've just handled it really poorly. And I think with the Jaguars, they want to go offense. And with the Raiders, I think offense could easily be the case. But it's a weird situation because it seems like these defenders are just really creeping up, specifically edge rushers and linebackers. And the consensus for the running back seems like it might be too deep of a class. It might be too deep. And I know Genty is a step above. Again, I'm not saying that he deserves to fall a little bit, but compared to where he was projected to go. But it seems like a lot of these teams are like, all right, well, if it's not glaring like this or that, maybe we just really like the value of just getting a top tier potential edge rusher or receiver like the Jaguars or other position in the top of the first, and then getting a guy that's not that big, or it's a drop off, but not really let's say if you get him the 3rd round pick, he might be way better than that value at running back compared to taking Genty and then getting a guy that's just much worse at the other position you wanted. That kind of seems to be the thing teams are going through. And I think, yes, I'm trying to do a little bit of a different one here. So if it was all straight line, you'll have Mason Graham here at 5, you'll have, Genty here at 6. But this is stuff that's been slowly creeping up. And again, I want to get this out at least a day before because, I'm not as big, so I don't have all these, followers that I can post this at the last second and get a ton of views because it doesn't matter. That's not the situation I'm in. So I want to try and do it a little early, but seems like it could be an interesting thing there with Jalen Walker skyrocketing up the board. And then you have the Jets at 7. I think here, if Mason Graham is available, I think they probably take him. Now, I know it's not the normal pick. He could honestly fall farther than this just because I think his ceiling people don't view as high. But he's going to be a good player. I think the Jets, reportedly, they do really like Tyler Warren and Jahdae Barron, the corner from Texas, and Tyler Warren, obviously the tight end from Penn State. Those are two guys that the Jets really, really like. So it could easily be one of those two. It's just with this case, I'm having Graham fall, which is very possible, and then I just think they won't pass him up. But he could go to any of the next teams, and honestly, the one I would pick if Mason Graham does fall would be the San Francisco 49ers. That would probably be the most likely one if it's not the Jets here with him falling. And even then, the Niners might be more likely than the Jets. It's just in this scenario, I think with him falling, I feel like the Jets go with him here. But Jahdae Barron and Tyler Warren are the two guys I would have there. And I'll show up a picture of a different mock draft later in the video that maybe changes or tweaks just one little thing that I had kind of maybe wasn't sure about having one way or the other. Because, again, I'm not married to these, but it's hard to do a mock like this. It really is. Panthers at 8. They've been linked to Jalen Walker the whole time. This is his floor at 8. They've also been rumored to trade down as well. But you got to have a team that trades up for someone. Could it be the Browns securing Genty? Maybe, but I don't really know if anyone would trade it for that anyways. And I don't know anyone else that's really trading up for someone here. Like, I don't think a team is trading up to Shedeur Sanders here at 8, and I'll explain why. But the other thing that it could be here with the Panthers, if it's not a trade down, is Mykel Williams at 8 overall. Yes, the Georgia edges have been getting a ton of love, and I think if it's not Jalen Walker with him going here, it could be Mykel Williams, as the Panthers obviously really want defense, but they've kind of liked both of them. And they might – Mykel Williams, you might see him go down there, say they could trade down. He's probably not even going to be there. Mykel Williams is going to go higher than you think, I think. So Panthers at 8 still go defense here. Saints at 9, I think this doesn't seem like a quarterback. It seems like they're pretty adamant, like, yeah, they're not taking a quarterback at 9. That doesn't mean they can't trade up, but at 9 overall, they're probably not taking a quarterback. That's what has come out. And in this scenario, I think they probably upgrade offensive line with that still being there, and I go Armand Membu. That's kind of what I look at here with the Saints here if it's not going to be 9. It could be a number of different things. Defensive line is the biggest thing I think I look at. Maybe they go crazy and say, hey, we love our running back room, and we are going to – or we don't love – like, Kamara's old, and we're kind of worried, so maybe we go Genty. Could happen, but – I think here if Membu falls, then I think 9 is good. I'd be surprised if he goes out of the top 10. That seems to be the scenario. I think 11 might even be the for sure floor for him. So he could go out of the top 10, but he's not falling past 11, that's for sure. And then the Bears at 10, if Genty's here, they get him, and they don't think twice about it, and they are celebrating. Apparently, a report came out saying that they're praying that Ashton Genty falls to number 10. And it's possible. It very much is. You can't tell me this stuff up here is not possible. It's been reports. It still fits with guys that would go up here. Some positional values are just being raised up more and more as the night comes, and different coaches with new coaches come in. Sometimes they want to get guys that are with their kind of side of the ball. With McMillan here, with Walker here, with Graham here, like that's kind of what they want to do. Membu, like offense, defense, offense. And it seems like the only quarterback in the top 10 is Cam Ward. That's probably what I think. Could happen totally different. We could have a team trade up or one of these guys takes them, but all reports seem to be if it's not a quarterback at 3, it's going to fall for a little bit. And then we have but if the Bears get Genty, oh my God, insane for them, like absolutely insane. And if Genty goes, then they could just get Warren. And if Warren goes, then one of these guys, 2 of them at least, are potentially going to fall out. And they could just snag a really good player here up the top. So probably either Genty, Warren, or maybe an offensive lineman like Membu if he falls. Or they honestly just go ahead and take Kelvin Banks. Who knows? With the Niners here, I think the way the board is, I'm going to have them go Walter Nolan. He's kind of been linked to them a little bit. I think it's either Nolan or, honestly, if Graham falls, like I said, I think it could be here, which Graham would fall if they take Jahdae Barron at 7. Panthers, they could go Mason Graham, but it seems like they want the more athletic edge over him. And then the Saints, I think, could go Mason Graham, but, offensive line, Membu, that's great value there. So Graham could go there. But Nolan, seems like the reports that he might go pretty high. And 11, I think, for what we think of him is pretty high. Could be even higher. Some teams apparently have Nolan ahead of Graham on their list. So could Nolan go ahead of Graham? Potentially, if Graham even falls farther. I don't know if he's going to fall too far. But Nolan, probably going to go pretty high, and I kind of like the fit here with the 49ers. Then the Dallas Cowboys at 12. I still think it's a receiver, and McMillan being gone, I think they easily just go ahead and take Matthew Golden. That seems to be the guy that they really like and stays in the state of Texas. So seems like it's probably McMillan or Golden. That's kind of the reports that we kind of hear. Then Miami at 12. I had this one personally, and reports kind of suggest it. It seems to be Kelvin Banks, and that's more so because Kelvin Banks seems like he is very likely probably going to go in the top half of the first round. So it seems like Banks is going to go much higher than some people have him ranked or some people think. Kind of similar to a McMillan. Like McMillan probably going to go really high. I think the Cowboys is his floor, to be honest. But Banks here at 13, it fits a need. Seems to be valued, very highly. He's kind of all over the place with his stuff, but with his traits, I think normally those guys, some have him low, some have him high. Only takes one team to have him high for him to go high, So Miami here, very struggling on the defensive line. They go Kelvin Banks here. If not him, Jahdae Barron, pretty easy pick there, or a different defensive back. But in a world where Barron is even gone, obviously they can't get him. But even when he's here, I don't know. I feel like they might prefer Kelvin Banks. 14 with the Colts. If he's still here, pretty easy. Tyler Warren. And yes, he could fall. I think like the Bears, they're celebrating with him being here, but it's very possible. Guys get pushed down for positional need all the time. And I think obviously the Jets or Bears are the place to look at for Warren here. But if Warren goes ahead, I think they could still go tight end and probably Colston Loveland. And Colston Loveland apparently is really high on people's boards and might go higher than you think, but it's really hard to even find a place to put him because there's so many rumors and stuff going around for all these teams, but you got to try and see what makes sense. But here I do think they value Warren over Loveland, and I think that's probably right anyways. So they're celebrating. They get Tyler Warren. Definitely need – I've had that just a tight end pick to them. They need some kind of good tight end to help with their quarterback situation. Falcons here at 15. They have been a trade-down rumor. Falcons have because they don't have a lot of picks. Trade down would obviously – you would think be for a quarterback because, unless someone loves Colston Loveland and wants to trade up for him, that could be the case. It's just, I don't know, you can't be too far. Like maybe the Chargers trade up from 22 to 15 to get Colston Loveland. Maybe the Broncos. Apparently the Broncos have been kind of rumoring around to try and trade up. So Broncos, I would keep your eye on. If that is the case, it could be this right here. It's just personally, Loveland and then Hampton, probably their two favorite guys. Are both of them going to go from 19 to 15? I don't think so. So there's no point to trade up. It would be trading up probably somewhere over here, depending on what happens. And in this case, the Broncos don't need to trade up. But if this isn't right and stuff goes differently, the Broncos might. So Broncos rumored to trade up and Falcons rumored to trade down. Just two teams I had in my head, but they both separately could do that. In this case, though, I think we'll probably have them stay, and the one that seems kind of likely that's been creeping up has been Shamar Stewart, edge rusher out of Texas A&M. It looks like an edge rusher 100% if they stay here, even if they trade down. And I think Stewart is just getting a lot of love because obviously he's an athletic freak, but without the potential character concerns of other guys that have gone ahead of him or that have normally gone ahead of him, like a Mike Green, like a James Pierce. Seems like he doesn't really have those concerns. So Falcons could really like this guy because they can move him maybe inside or outside with his amazing athleticism. The Cardinals here at 16. The board falls like this. Jahdae Barron is there. Could be tough to pass on him, but it seems like they kind of want an actual outside corner. They have slot guys. Will Johnson's there. Might take him, they're hard to pick for. Will Johnson, it's been hard to see where he's going to go, but I do kind of like just this area for him, and it does fit the Cardinals because they want an outside, corner. They have already got slot guys like Garrett Williams. They have slot corners that have been really good, and that's what Jahdae Barron is. Maybe Jahdae Barron's not even on the board at this point. I don't know, but even if he is, I don't know. Feels like they want an outside guy, so maybe they probably pick Will Johnson over him. The Bengals here at 17. I'm going to actually go ahead. They're probably going to go D-line. If he's available, it's Walter Nolan, I think. This is his floor. If not, I think they go James Pierce, which is a little higher than some people think he's going to go. But it's an edge rusher for Cincinnati here probably, and I think they just want the best guy in their eyes, best player, and even with his issues, I don't really think they care. They just want a star at that position. So with his character stuff, effort stuff, seems like they don't care. They're a team that doesn't really care, and they'll just take him. So Bengals with James Pierce Jr. here. If not, could be Mike Green, could be, if he falls, Shamar Stewart, Nick Scorton, maybe. Seems like it would probably be Nolan if he's available. If Walter Nolan's there, that's probably who they would take. Seattle at 18. This one's pretty easy. Gray Zabel. Seems like they're interested. They actually want to take good offensive linemen now. They really, really need it. I think this would be a perfect pick for them, to be honest. Really like that pick. Buccaneers at 19. I think this is where you could see the trade down. I think the trade down could happen on any of these 5 spots right here. The Falcons, the Cardinals, probably not the Bengals, but the 4 spots. Let's say Falcons, Cardinals, Seahawks, Tampa. If a team is trading it for a quarterback, I'm probably going to guess it's going to be at one of these 4. That would be my pick. And in this case, I will show you maybe something else that would have that. In this case, I'm not going to do that because I don't know. My gut feeling is just like I really don't know if – I mean, it does take one crazy team to do it, but I don't know if it's 100% really worth it to do that for the teams that are going to do it. In this case, if I were to do it, it probably would be the Buccaneers because they have been rumored to be open to trading down. But if they stay here, I think Jahad Campbell's a pretty perfect and easy pick for them. Great replacement for Levante David. Really fits. So could be trade down, but probably going to have here. Broncos, if they stay still, it's Hampton. But if Loveland's on the board, it's Loveland probably over Hampton, at least in my opinion. I think the more likely picks obviously are in Hampton, but when you're doing stuff like this and all these reports coming out of guys going higher or lower, you get a guy you just didn't expect to be on the board, and you can go ahead and take him. And I think with the Colts or with the Broncos here, like I don't know, it'd be hard for them to potentially really pass up on Colson Loveland. And now that I'm thinking about it, I actually don't know if they would even go him. I'll change it on the fly. I'm going to change it on the fly. I'm going to have them go Amarian Hampton. I'll have them go Amarian Hampton here and have Colson Loveland fall a little bit, even though it feels like he's probably just going to go higher based on the reports. I don't know where he would go. Like, Tyler Warren is going to go over Colson Loveland, and the only other tight end team would be the Bears, but the Bears wouldn't take him over Genty. And other than that, like the Jets, if they take Warren, but Graham falls because we have these defensive guys being pushed up. So these defensive guys being pushed up changes a ton. It really does. So here I changed on the fly. I did have Colson Loveland in my notes, but we'll go Amarian Hampton there because it seems like they really want running back, and Hampton they view as a really good first-round running back. The Steelers at 21, I think this is his floor, and I'm going to have him go. Shedeur Sanders. I think the thing I look for is, like, obviously a team trading up ahead. But I think the realistic spots for Sanders, I think he's really just a Steeler or a Giant. I think those are kind of the two things that seems to be reporting / what I'm thinking. Like, it seems like it's either going to be the Giants trading up ahead of the Steelers or the Steelers just taking them at 21. That kind of seems to be what's probably going to happen. And, if they do that, obviously I think if the Giants trade up for Shedeur Sanders, I think the Steelers here could be Dart, could be Amarian Hampton if he falls. I think one of those could happen, or they could just trade back. So if the Giants get Shedeur Sanders, they're going to have to jump the Steelers because the Steelers, I think, are just going to be comfortable sitting and waiting at 21 and seeing if he's there and they really like him. I don't really know if they like Dart. They could, they couldn't. Not a lot of stuff has come out about that, but it seems like they're still adamant that they're going to add a quarterback to this roster, like 2 more. One of them probably being Aaron Rodgers, and it seems like they're probably going to draft a quarterback. It just could be later in the draft, or it could be early. I don't really, it could be first round or later in the draft. I don't really know, but it seems like they're going to add some kind of quarterback. So if the Giants trade up, it could be a number of different things. Could be trade down, Hampton if he's still there, or Dart. Any of those things could happen. It's really hard. But in this world where the Giants kind of are like, all right, no, we're fine, then the Steelers probably take him at 21. The Chargers here at 22, I had Kenneth Grant if Colson Loveland's gone. If Colson Loveland's there, I think they take him easily. If he's not, which I don't even know if he's going to fall here, it seems like, which this is the one I hate the most, is Colson Loveland falling. I have Kenneth Grant there if Colson Loveland goes higher, which I just don't know where. I really have no clue. But it'll be Colson Loveland probably going higher. If not, though, this is his floor for sure. The Giants, or not the Giants, the Packers here. With the Packers, I think if the way this board falls, it's probably Mike Green or Jahdae Barron. So they're pretty happy they get a guy that falls. In this one, I think they go Barron because I think the need is better, and I think they probably view him as a better player, and they definitely need secondary help for sure. So if Barron falls, yeah, I mean, he's pretty wide range just because of the value that teams place on these slot corners. And I think, again, the Jets could be the one that breaks that mold because they're so high and they love him. But if they just go someone else like a Mason Graham because they can't pass it up, Barron could fall here to 23. Then we have the Vikings at 24. I think this is an easy trade down spot for them. If they stay, probably just going to be the guy I've had for a while, Derek Harmon. If not, then I think they're going to have a team that wants to trade up. And in this case, I'm going to do the New Orleans Saints. Doesn't matter what they give up. We'll figure it out later. Maybe it's a future first. Who knows? But let's say this right here or something. And they go ahead and trade up, and they go ahead and take Jackson Dart, the quarterback out of Mississippi. They really like Dart. In fact, they like Dart more than Shedeur Sanders. And I think the way this kind of draft is going, like Jackson Dart, I think is either going to be a Giant, a Steeler, or a Saint. Those are the three I think he's probably going to go. So if the Giants don't trade up ahead of Pittsburgh for Sanders, I think it'll be them versus New Orleans for Jackson Dart. Like, if they let Sanders go, they also like Dart, and I think they could try and just fight to trade up with Jackson Dart, which that could be the Chargers here. But in this case, the Chargers are like, no way, we love Loveland, we want to stay. And then the Packers are like, oh, no way, we didn't expect Barron or Green to be on the board, we're going to stay. And the Vikings are the easy trade down spot. So I think in this world, Giants or Saints are probably fighting to trade up for Jackson Dart. And I'm not 100% tied to this at all. I both of them, I do like this scenario. I just don't think either is going to want to trade up with first. They could. It's going to be hard for either of them to trade up into the late teens, which would probably be Tampa Bay at 19, because they have to jump the Steelers for Shedeur Sanders, but the Saints aren't doing that. They're not jumping for Shedeur Sanders. They would be jumping for Jackson Dart, and so they might have to. You could have a hypothetical, where 19 and 20 are quarterbacks, and they're both trades because the Giants trade up for Sanders, and then the Saints are worried that the Steelers are going to take Dart, and then the Saints trade up for Dart. That could be a possibility. But if I'm the Giants, it's like, I mean, the Giants probably don't care about giving up a future first, but they would have to if they trade up. So if I had to change it, it would probably be the Giants trading up to go get Shedeur Sanders, which I did one more just alternate stuff with two things that I was like really not sure about and just was 50-50 on, and I'll show you that. But that would be a possibility. So it's really that three-team rotation, I think, that's fighting for these two quarterbacks, and it's really hard to kind of figure out. So if it's not this, like I said, I think it's the Giants trading up, and Pittsburgh goes Hampton, trade down, or Dart. There's a chance New Orleans just trades back up for Dart, and Pittsburgh is okay with it. Like, they don't even take him there. Maybe they don't like Dart, and they're like, whatever. Maybe they trade with Pittsburgh. Like, they could just say, all right, yeah, we're fine. We'll trade back. Like, it's all good. We don't even really want Dart. Like, that's could be the case. But it seems like Pittsburgh is going to get some type of quarterback. A report came out that they want to draft a quarterback. It's just they weren't very specific, and they probably weren't specific for a reason, because maybe they aren't specific on we need to get any quarterback in the first round. It could just be, all right, we'll chill if Sanders falls. If not, hey, all good. We'll get one later. That could be their thinking as well. 25 here with the Houston Texans. I'm going to have them go Josh Simmons. Seems like pretty easy. They need offensive line, best offensive lineman available. Seems like that would really fit. And then with the Rams here, I'm going to have another trade, a team that's been rumored to want to trade up, and I think I'll show you again in my second scenario something else that they could do, but I'm going to have the Chiefs trade up. Chiefs seems like they want to trade up because they have these two picks here, and they could just give up one of them. and then maybe get back, I don't know, something like this or whatever. I'm not exactly sure, to go ahead and trade up, because they have these two, or one's a late second, one's an early third, because they seem to want offensive linemen and they want to be aggressive. And the last one that's capable of going in the first round would be Josh Connerly. So I think they could just trade with LA, who's fine going back, and they go ahead and get Josh Connerly there because they need offensive line. Again, could be a world where they get Josh Simmons as well. But it seems like Houston's probably going to take him if he's there. The Ravens at 27, in this world with Mike Green falling, I think they probably just go him there. I think, again, weird if he falls, but that is what happens, is very possible, and might be how it goes. But they're probably going to go D-line either way. And then with the Lions here, they probably just go whoever's left, and that's Donovan Izaraku. I think could be, again, number of different guys. I might even want it to be more so Nick Scorton. Don't count out Nick Scorton because they like those bigger guys as well. So Nick Scorton could also be the pick there. But I think in this world with Ezeraku still there, that's fine. Or the Lions trade up with someone to just secure Mike Green because they really like Mike Green and he might fit them better. Either way, D-line is probably the pick for the Lions. Probably the pick. Commanders here at 29. I had originally had Amarian Hampton going here if he falls. If not, and these guys are still on the board, it's just really hard to figure out like what they would do. I mean, this is super hard. I honestly have no clue, to be honest. They could just go in a number of different directions. But in terms of what is kind of available and on the board right now, like, could be Malachi Starks, I guess, safety, but I don't really think they would do that. Receiver, would they draft a receiver first round? One of these two, maybe. Edge rushers like Nick Scorton, if he goes here, and Donovan Izaraku could go, here as well. I think that could be the case. You still have Kenneth Grant. It's just hard to find a spot for him if it's not the Chargers. Again, the kind of shakeup here really pushes down and kind of affects Loveland and Grant, in my opinion, with who's actually available. I think Kenneth Grant, maybe you could just have him go to one of these teams up here. I think, man, this is tough. Here, let's just go ahead and have them take Kenneth Grant because he's just BPA. If you want to imagine it where these two, like, some of these are flipped, Grant, Ezeraku, Green, like any of these are flipped, I think you could. And Washington, their defensive interior, like, it's not bad, but it's not great. It's, just kind of older and didn't have a great performance last year, so they could just get a guy, hey, he's Fall's best player on the board. We'll go ahead and take him there. The Bills at 30. In this world, I'll have them go Malachi Starks. I think he could fall out of the first round, but they need safety help. If he's still on the board, seems pretty good for them. The Rams here at 31 with a trade down. I'm going to have them go Trey Amos out of Mississippi. He is like one of the more like NFL ready, like just solid corners in the class. He's not going to be anything crazy, but just solid and good. And the Rams desperately need that, so seems to fit for them. And then the Eagles have been rumored to be wanting to be aggressive. They could be aggressive. I think they could go a number of different guys. Obviously, we know they like taking their D-line. Nick Scorton. Landon Jackson has been one that I've picked a lot. But there's been rumors and stuff that they want to potentially trade Dallas Goedert. And a guy has been getting pushed up the board a ton, and you might want to place like a weird, potential funny bet for him to go in the first round. That's Mason Taylor. I'm going to have Mason Taylor go in the first round to the Eagles, projecting whether they do it before or after some type of maybe Dallas Goedert trade due to the money that they don't think it's worth in terms of paying. And then they could go ahead and take, Mason Taylor here at 32, which it seems like he might be a first-round pick. He can honestly be a Ram. I think the Rams could go Mason Taylor ahead of them here, whether it's at 26 or 31. I think either of those could happen. And then just filling you in on these two here, I think if this is the way it goes, Tyler Shuck is a Brown, because he's the most NFL-ready guy in terms of the guys left and can play right now. And Jalen Milroe goes to the Giants because they really like him. They've spent a lot of time with him. and that would be their quarterback that they would take, and he would fit in line of, okay, we have these two, and then we can try and build up this guy. Again, super hard. I think Nick Scorton would be one that I could fit in there. Receivers, you see, might fall more than you think, and so there could be some really good value. I think the Titans fans should be happy because then they could grab like a Luther Burden or Emeka Ibuka there, and Titans fans would probably be pretty excited. But whatever your team does in the first round, just try and think, okay, how does it relate to rounds 2 and 3? Because rounds 2 and 3 are very similar, a lot of good starters, and I think some teams might be aiming for the top tier in the first round, and some are going to bust, and then it's going to, make it look not as good, but your second and third round might be better. Or they might take value, like we said with the Genti decision, where, hey, Jalen Walker, like the value and potential that he has at 6 and the impact compared to guys at the same position going like in the second and third round is just not the same with Genti going here and then looking at guys like running backs. The fall off is, yes, but it's not like it's like they're both up here, like they're both really good. Whereas, Walker's right here, and then the next guy's like much farther down, especially when teams are rumored to be really liking this D-line class, and you can tell they're going to go. Like Scorton, I think I would probably put in the first round, and Derek Harmon, I really could easily put in the first round. Other guys I kind of want to mention here. Again, receivers, seems like they fall. Emeka Ibuka could. Seems like more of like an early second round pick, which I think is great value for whatever team. But Nick Scorton, Derek Harmon, those are the two I would put in there. Just hard to really fit in. Again, I'm not dying on this list, but I think there's some picks here that you should think about. It might actually happen that maybe you didn't expect. And then other guys like Siobhan Ravel's report seems to be he's healthy now, so that could be there. Ones that might be very likely are Donovan Jackson and or Tyler Booker. I think Donovan Jackson might actually. There's been a lot of reports he could go in there. I'm just not sure where, but Donovan Jackson has been rumored to go in the first round. And then apparently 2 Ohio State guys have been looked at a lot, and that's JT JT Tuimoloau. Is that how you say it? I have no clue. I forget. But JT from Ohio State, rumored to maybe be a late first-round pick. And then Travion Henderson. Yeah, Travion Henderson teams apparently really like as RB3 and could go in the first round maybe to Washington here at 29 if Hampton goes in this case. I just didn't want to have it there because Grant was still was still on the board, but that could be stuff that could happen there. And then Nick Eamon-Wari. Nick Eamon-Wari is the one that was really hard to fit in here, and I'm just not sure where. I think you probably could have him over Malachi Starks as well. Maybe I don't want to restart the whole draft, but maybe that would be what I would prefer to do over Starks. I think, actually, yeah, let's do that. I maybe will edit the end, but Nick Eamon-Wari over Malachi Starks for the Bills there. I think that could be flipped, and you could have that as the first-round pick there for them. And then Ariante Ursary. Ariante Ursary has been rumored to potentially be a first-round pick, especially if a lot of tackles go. So if we have a lot of tackles go in this case, we could have Ariante Ursary go at like pick 31 to the Chiefs. And those are kind of guys that I'm seeing here that could be first-round picks. Now, I want to show to you the potential alternative in terms of the potential draft that could happen. And I'll pull that up for you. But there is, again, I want to mention, like, there is another world where stuff happens, obviously, but there's one thing I kind of was depending on and going back and forth on, and I just want to show you how it might change here for the draft. Give me 1 second. Again, I could change up so much stuff, but here's one right here. You see some stuff looks the same, but we have Mason Graham going here at 11. I think that just pushes Walter Nolan down. I think that's the biggest thing that happens there. And then Colston Loveland, if he gets picked here, could be a Steelers just going Hampton, Kenneth Grant going here. And then, like I said, you got Mike Green. And then the Chiefs trading ahead of the Texans to go ahead and take Josh Simmons as he's very valuable there. And they trade ahead. And then the Texans are fine getting Connerly. And then we have a Rams trade down with still the Saints getting Jackson Dart. But you see here the Giants going Shedeur Sanders, trading ahead of them to go ahead and take Shedeur Sanders. And then you've got Izaraku Scorton, like I said, could go there. And then Pierce, that kind of three, which I do like. And then Campbell falling, Derek Carmen because the Chiefs trade up with the Vikings here, and then you got Mason Taylor still going there, and then Tyler Shuck, like we said there, and then this would obviously change in that case. But then that would leave the Steelers as the team without a quarterback right now, in which maybe they go ahead and take a Jalen Milroe, or they could really like one of these Will Howard, Quinn Ewers, Riley Leonard, Dylan Gabriel types, something like that. Maybe Will Howard is it. I don't know. But that is another possibility as well. Again, it's not all perfect, but I think some of these, like some combination of these two mocks, like, and all the info I said, could give us a really awesome potential, draft here in terms of our prediction. So that is going to do it for me. Go ahead, enjoy the draft. Going to be chaotic. I watch all of them. I love all the rounds. So I would suggest you do at least have it on in the background. Check it out. Know some guys that might be, some big players on your favorite team. So we'll kind of see. What happens there. But as always, stay smart, stay sharp, and I will see you guys later. Peace.